Thank you, Acting Speaker. And as I've stated a few times in this place this week, I never thought I'd be so passionate about planning schemes, but here we are. So I'm more than happy to contribute on the planning amendment Better Decisions Made Faster Bill 2025. I can't say that without having a bit of a giggle. And I tell you, honestly, if the member for Werribee wants to talk about the lack of understanding of geography, let's talk about the planning scheme and the inability to actually develop housing in rural areas and how caught up in red tape that gets. I mean, if we want to talk about the lack of understanding of geography, the planning scheme written by the state in the city for the city is a very good example of a lack of geographic understanding. But as we've heard, first of all, from the member for Polwarth, there are many concerns with these amendments, and to the point where a couple of amendments wouldn't even fix it. And I wanted to talk about one of those concerns in particular, and that is, I'll start with the local councils and communities being cut out of deciding about the opportunities for growth in their communities. This has been a long-standing issue, and this is exactly what I talk about when we talk about being cut out of opportunities. Rural councils in particular have to abide by this planning scheme written in the city, for the city, with no flexibility whatsoever for farmland and for developing farmland that's been dewatered, so won't be productive in any time soon. And for those that live in soldier settlement areas, like I do, that were allocated as 30-acre blocks, these are generational farms a lot of the time, and they're caught now in a situation where they've moved on, or maybe the sons and daughters have taken over the farm, or it's been leased out, or they just want to retire but they don't want to move into town. They can't do that because they can't excise off their property. And having these people that have lived on the land their entire lives, having them move into town would be have such a negative impact on their mental health, a lot of times their physical health. So that is one area of concern. Obviously, climate change and traditional owner concerns are prioritised over the affordability of housing in planning objectives. And the fact that next-door neighbours in many cases will not be notified of development plans while traditional owners will. There was concerns, and we saw the Premier out at a press conference saying that treaty will have no effect on private land. Well, I can tell you, Acting Speaker, that the concerns of traditional owners, and this causes such horrific division within communities, it's already happening. I have a case, and I was on the phone to a gentleman called Murray Allen. He and his wife, Mick's her nickname. I don't believe I know her first name. Murray and Marie Allen. It's a country thing, have been trying to develop. They have, again, a generational farm in Sea Lake, just out of Sea Lake. I see the member for Preston stop. I'm talking about Sea Lake. Take a seat. You might be interested in this. They have been trying to develop some accommodation on their farm. Their farm backs onto Lake Tyrrell, and we know Lake Tyrrell has had a boom in tourism for Sea Lake in recent years. Thankfully, because they can't run their huge major event, the Mallee Rally, there anymore. So thankfully, Lake Tyrrell has provided a tourism opportunity. So Murray and Mick have been trying to develop some accommodation on their farm, that has been cultivated for near 200 years. They started this process in 2018 with the plans and the consultants. They had a cultural heritage management plan done. Then work started. They got the footings in the ground, and because the construction site was identified, and you can see it very clearly, the views from this beautiful accommodation and caravan park, tourist park, would be spectacular, because Lake Tyrrell, particularly when it's got water in it, but even when it hasn't, it is spectacular. And it's Fantastic for stargazers. If you wanted to see the aurora last night, Lake Tyrrell would be the best place in Australia you could see it, no light pollution. So the concept of it is incredible. In 2021, work stopped because of concerns from the traditional owners that it was of significant cultural heritage value. The Cultural Heritage Management Plan that was conducted during the planning stages didn't identify any sacred sites on their plot of land. Like I said, it's been cultivated for over 180 years. So work stopped in 2021. Footings are in the ground, mind you. Plans are up, signs have been up. It's been back and forth with the department and the TOs and is now in a stalemate. So they are left now. Classifications have tried to be changed, but no further action has been taken. So with a lack of response, which does not equal approval, they can actually not move forward with this development. Now, they have spent many hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to develop this, what would be a beautiful accommodation precinct on the most spectacular lake in northwest Victoria, offering many opportunities for the traditional owners as well to sell arts and crafts and tell stories about what that lake meant to their people. The opportunities, if we're going to talk about self-determination, this is an opportunity staring everyone in the face, and it has been caught up. It has been caught up and stopped with no reason whatsoever since 2021. So when we say that this will not affect private land, it will. It already has. So when we hear statements like that from the Premier, those of us that have gone through it and know of constituents that are currently still going through it, it is an absolutely laughable statement. This family can still cultivate their land. They're harvesting at the moment. Well, actually, sorry, they're not harvesting today because it's a total fire ban at 29 degrees. Total fire ban. What a joke. That's a whole different issue, not a planning issue. But when we say that this will not affect private land, I mean, if you were going to put a fence up or a shed or a pergola or whatever it might be, you don't have to tell your neighbours, but you do have to inform the traditional owners. Now, that might, in some sort of in some sort of delusional utopia, then this might actually make sense. But I can tell you, in communities like this, it widens the gap. It doesn't close it. And that is my biggest concern, that the gap will get bigger. It's so divisive because of what is already happening. So if you think treaty is going to change that, that's an absolute farce. It absolutely is not. I'll move on from there to a couple of our other concerns, of course. The digital illiteracy marginalisation regarding public notices, so they only have to be printed online. Our small rural newspapers, which have been the backbone of regional communities and rural communities more importantly, for generations, rely on even the smallest amount of spend from classified ads and things like that. It's really important to them. It's what keeps them going in a lot of cases. And those newspapers are read by a certain generation, and sometimes that's the only way that they get their local news. It's the only way. We don't have local news on TV, free-to-air television anymore. That's the only way they get their information and their local news. So, and I can see your face, Acting Speaker, in Mildura, we've had our local news services from television stripped away from us years ago. It is a problem, and it's now done out of Canberra and Queensland, believe it or not. So that is also a real concern. And the growth area infrastructure contribution and development contributions can now be used for purposes outside the area where funds are raised. I mean, again, this is another laughable point in these planning amendments. If we actually want to make planning decisions better and faster, Give councils and local communities back a say in what happens in their local area, because you know what? The ones that live there know best.